Okay, this is section 4.7, and in this video we're learning how to solve by using the quadratic formula. So, quadratic formula, as we said in the previous video, is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so I've got some steps here that I think could help you in solving these things. So the very first step I'm going to look at, I've got to make sure that my equation is set equal to 0 every time. Okay, I got to make sure that that happens. If it's not equal to 0, I got to get it equal to 0 by adding or subtracting whatever I need to do there. Then I'm going to take the values for a, b, and c in the equation and substitute it into the discriminant first, b squared minus 4ac first. Then I'm going to calculate that number. Once that number's figured out, then I'm going to put it in the quadratic formula. So I'm going to do the discriminant first, because I don't want to put it in the discriminant right away, because when I do that, then when I have all those numbers underneath the square root, it makes the problem way more difficult. Once the numbers are substituted into the quadratic formula, then we need to simplify that thing. So you're going to use your calculator quite a bit here. And we are going to leave all, on this last step here, we are going to make all of our answers to decimals. So you can cross out that last step. We're going to make all our answers decimals no matter what. Okay, so let's look at these first examples. Okay, first thing I want to do, is it set equal to 0? If it's set equal to 0 already, then I'm going to identify A, B, and C. So in this case, A is 1. So first thing I want to do is calculate my B squared minus 4ac, because that's the part that's underneath the square root. So 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 3. 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. So that's going to be 28. Now, this will tell me that I have two real answers. So my problem is going to have two solutions. Okay? So now I'm plugging it into my quadratic formula. Okay, the opposite of b is negative 4 plus or minus the square root of my b squared minus 4ac is 28. That's why I always do that first. And then it's always over 2 times a, which is 2, because it's 2 times 1. Okay, now, what I'm going to do from here is plug this into my calculator. So what I'm going to do in the calculator is type in negative 4, and we're going to go plus the square root of 28. Then hit enter. Then take whatever that answer is, divide it by 2. Okay, so when you do that, all right, when you do that, you should get this answer. X equals, in this case, you get 0.6457. We're going to round everything to the nearest tenth, so that's going to be 0.6. Okay, then you're going to substitute in your calculator negative 4 minus the square root of 28. Hit enter. Then take that answer and divide it by 2. And when you do that, you should get x equals 4.6457. Again, rounding to the nearest 10. So it's going to be 4.6. Notice how many answers you have. Okay, so being able to do this in the calculator is going to be an important part. You want to make sure that you write that part down. Okay, so let's take a look at the next example. This example here. Notice this example is not set equal to 0. So when I do this, I got to make sure this one is set equal to 0 first. So we're going to subtract 4. All right, so I got 2x squared minus x and minus 4 equals 0. So now I can identify this is A, that's B, that's C. Okay, so now I want to find b squared minus 4ac first. So this is negative 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 4 is 32. So it's going to be plus 32. So we end up with 33. That's the number that's going to go underneath the square root again. Because it's positive, I'm going to have two real answers here. Okay, so I want quadratic formula. The opposite of b in this case is positive 1 plus or minus the square root of 33 all over 2 times a, and 2 times a, in this case, a is 2. 2 times 2, so this is going to be 1 plus or minus the square root of 33 all over 4. So on your calculator, you're going to type in 1 plus the square root of 33, and then hit enter, and then divide that by 2, and you should come up with x equals 3.37, so it's 3.4. That's one answer. Then, on your calculator, you're going to type in 1 minus the square root of 33, and then we're going to divide that by 4. Okay, so now if I look back, I screwed up on this first answer. That's not 3.4. It's 1.68, so it's 1.7 on that first answer because I accidentally divided it by 2. So on my first answer, you should get 1.7. On the second answer, if I take, okay, so you're going to take 1 minus the square root of 33, hit enter, and then divide it by 4. And you should get x equals negative 1.18 or negative 1.2. So you're going to have some crazy decimals as you're doing these problems. But you'll notice these are two answers here. It says two real solutions. There's two possible answers. Okay, so now you should be able to complete the problems with using the quadratic formula, solving those on your class kick.